Today's episode I've been kicking around doing for a few months now, and it wasn't until last week when I watched the new Series of Unfortunate Events Netflix series that I decided, you know what? Now's the time. Now, A Series of Unfortunate Events is a book series that I have loved since I was a kid. I've read every single book, and I remember back in 2004, 2006, I was super excited for the Jim Carrey movie to come out, and it wasn't that good. Video on that's probably going to happen at some point, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're going to talk about the Netflix series starring Neil Patrick Harris, and Netflix shows in general, because there are quite a few of them, and I have had time to form an opinion on them as a medium. What is that opinion, you may ask? Well, I love them. I love A Series of Unfortunate Events. I love the shows that Netflix has been doing. It's a great format. Now, if you think it's strange that a video titled Cold Hearted Complaints is very optimistic and positive, don't worry. We're going to get to some negative stuff further on down the line, but right now let's just jump into A Series of Unfortunate Events. A Series of Unfortunate Events is a children's book series that has some very dark humor. There is death, murder, and misfortune all over this series. Yet it uses all these elements in a dry wit to make it an incredibly fun read. It follows the unfortunate events of the Baudelaire orphans, Violet, Klaus, and Sunny, whose parents perish in a house fire. Because of this, they are sent off to live with the despicable Count Olaf, a greedy man after their fortune. The books then follow the orphans' adventures trying to stop Count Olaf and discover the mystery behind their parents' death. When I first heard about this going into production, I was fairly worried. The books are really weird and have this odd logic to them that really works as a book, but I didn't know if they could really adapt it to a movie or a TV show and it could fit, like it could really work, because that was the problem with the movie with Jim Carrey in it. When adapting it to the screen back with the movie, they really didn't commit to the weird. And I think a lot of that was executives looking at it with adult logic and saying, this won't fly. A good example of this is back in the first book, Count Olaf, who runs a theater troupe, puts on a play and stages a marriage between himself and Violet. Now, spoiler alert for how they solve this issue, but the law says that Violet must sign her name on the marriage license in her own hand. So, Violet, who is right-handed, signs with her left hand, which invalidates the marriage license. That is a silly concept and a weird way to resolve a conflict, but it really works and fits the tone of this weird story. The movie then took that idea and decided to do something a little more standard and just light the license on fire. They didn't want to truly embrace this strangeness, but the Netflix series jumps headfirst in it. From the visual style to the dialogue, they stay faithful enough while adding a few more details to flesh out and expand the story a bit, which I am in no way opposed to. To me, it kind of feels like a Wes Anderson film in many ways, with a quirky sense to it in this world that feels so whimsical. There are a lot of pastel kind of colors contrasted with a lot of gray backgrounds and darker lighting. The dialogue is quick and witty. Most of that comes straight from the book, but hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, there are plenty of other things I love about this show. One of the big ones being Patrick Warburton as Lemony Snicket, because that man has a magnificent voice, one of the greatest voices in Hollywood. I can't get enough of it. But this love fest is more appropriate for a blank you should watch, and not really a Cold Hearted Complaints. And should you watch? Well, yes, I've been saying that for the past, 3 minutes now? Of course you should watch, it's a great show. What this episode is really about is the format in which the show came out, which is Netflix. Netflix has evolved from people who deliver movies straight to your mailbox to an online service where you can binge watch Breaking Bad, to its current format of being a place where you can binge watch Breaking Bad while also having a lot of cool original shows produced by the company themselves. Some of the shows I'd love to highlight are Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Voltron, and Stranger Things. For A Series of Unfortunate Events, the format is an 8-episode season that are about 50 minutes long. Each episode is half of a book, so they're able to cover the first 4 books over 8 episodes, which rounds out pretty close to 8 hours, and they make every single minute of it count, which is exactly what I love about what Netflix has done. They're able to give shows time to properly pace out their stories. Going forward with this, I originally had the idea for this episode after watching season 2 of Daredevil and thinking how perfect the show captured what it's like to read a comic book, because we live in a time of superhero movies that need to establish a hero, their origin, the villain, the side characters, make them all likable, set up tie-ins for a sequel, and multi-universe spanning expansions. They have about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 to do all of this. Many times corners are cut, characters' times shortened, motivations cut short or not explained at all. The experience can be uneven and focus way more on big action set pieces than actual development of characters. Now, of course, I'm not saying that this is all superhero movies, but it feels like the majority of superhero movies nowadays. Daredevil, on the other hand, has about 13 hours to develop all of this. We get to spend spend plenty of time with our characters to understand what they want and why they want it. A similar thing can be said for Jessica Jones. You get to dive into what makes our heroes tick, their flaws and their strengths. They also get to dive into side plots, spend an episode just developing the villain, see things evolve with characters, like Daredevil's slow transition from some guy in a black outfit to a full-on red suit with devil horns and crazy weapons. Since the episodes are all released at once and meant to be binged watched instead of watched week to week, they don't have to rely on having a traditional 3-act structure for each episode. Runtimes aren't expanded or trimmed to fit strict time slots. Since there are no commercial breaks, this isn't necessary. Instead, they go as long as they need to tell the story. They feel like this crossing point between movies and TV, with the best of both worlds. Well, except for budget. Netflix obviously doesn't have the budget to make things with jaw-dropping special effects. But to me, this is incredibly passable. An effects budget should not define a movie or TV show. I mean, it can hinder it, of course, but when the series have good characters and compelling stories, who really cares? One of the things I appreciate most is when you watch a Netflix show, there isn't anything to break the immersion from the world. Like commercial breaks, which are noticeable even when they aren't there. By this I mean, have you ever watched a show and felt a weird break and transition to a different tone? This happens sometimes when normal TV shows are put onto either DVD or on Netflix. The gap is where the commercial is, and they use that gap as a way to reset, maybe focus on a different character. It's really distracting. Even though shows that do this can still be great, it just makes it an ever so slightly worse experience. Now you can call that a nitpick, and I would agree, but I find it annoying enough to mention. You know what else these shows don't have to do? Hooks. You ever sit there watching one of your weekly shows like Game of Thrones and being like, yeah, this is really nice. Ah, shit, an hour's gone by, there's gonna be a cliffhanger. And then you have to wait an entire week for them to even address that cliffhanger, or maybe they won't even do that. Maybe they'll string you out for like a month until they finally get to it, right? Sometimes that's part of the fun of it. That's one of the great things where you're like, man, I get to talk for 6 days with all my friends and family about what's going to happen. Like Lost, when the first, 3-4 seasons of Lost, everyone would be talking to each other about, what's in the hatch, what's Desmond, what's the Dharma Initiative, what's going on. I can't wait to find out what's going to happen. Damon Lindelof and J.J. Abrams, they're just sparkling swell guys, aren't they? But other times it can just turn out to all been a waste of time. A lot of build up and this big thing that you're like, I'm gonna finally get the answers, and then nothing comes out of it, nothing worthwhile at least. A great example of this is Lost. Fucking Damon Lindelof. With a Netflix series, this isn't the case. Sure, they have hooks inside of episodes, but they're a lot smaller, and they aren't, fuck you, come back in a week to figure out what this fucking plot line is. It's more, hey, wouldn't you like to keep watching? I know you would. I think it's incredible that Netflix has basically made an 8-hour movie a thing, like Stranger Things. Stranger Things is made up of 8 one-hour-long episodes, and when you watch them all together, it makes a cohesive movie. When I was watching it, I was just thinking, this is an 8-hour John Carpenter and Steven Spielberg movie. I love this. They allow there to be a large cast, 3 main perspectives for the story to be told. The parents, the teenagers, and the children. Then they give proper time to each one so that each section of the plot feels serviced and properly paced. Then it all weaves together in the end. Okay, this part may seem a little off topic, but I was watching Akira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress, and a part of it struck me. There's this spear battle between 2 characters that took about 10 minutes, right? And it's a great display of tension. They have a lot of time dedicated to the 2 guys facing off. And not what they're doing, but they're changing stances and they're just looking at each other in the eyes. It's fantastic tension, right? And while I was watching this, I realized that I don't see this in modern movies that much. Not that every movie has to have long scenes, just draw everything out, but scenes that don't feel like they're paced, right? Everything nowadays feels like it has to be so fast-paced. Get people through the movie. Get it, go, 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 right? Movies don't take time to let their scenes sit for me. Now, I realize Akira Kurosawa is one of the greatest directors alive, and it's unfair to compare people to him. And tell people, why don't you just do it like Kurosawa did it? Well, not everyone can do that. And it's really not what I'm saying. What I want people to take from this is let your scenes sit. Let them have time to soak in what the characters want, what you think they're gonna do. Let a scene play out. This feels kind of unrelated in a way, but you know what? In Netflix shows, I never really get that feeling where I'm being rushed. It feels like everything's taking the right amount of time. To wrap this all up, I love what Netflix is doing, and I can't wait to see how this medium develops. Okay, so I realized while I was writing this that this concept relates to a revolutionary new idea that I've heard about recently. And it all relates to Netflix being a subscription service. It's kind of like cable, except there's no commercials and there's no competing networks, and they're not really trying to sell you on products, just trying to give you good shows to watch. The focus is on the shows being good. What they care about is just having you stay subscribed and watching what they put out. It reminded me of this revolutionary new idea called the $10 Revolution. Now, the $10 Revolution is the brainchild of Kara, who is of the Stuck Together podcast, which is a fantastic podcast that I highly recommend. You may also know her as the writer of the free dating sim Asagao Academy, which is a dating sim about dating a bunch of YouTubers from Normal Boots and Hidden Block, which are some guilds, which include Peanut Butter Gamer, Pro Jared, The Completionist, Brutal Moose, a whole bunch of other guys in it. It's a real jam-packed game. It's great. It's free. This is completely unrelated to what I'm talking about. But her proposal is this. Set aside $10 a month. That's right, $10, right? Just set it aside, take it out of your budget, and give it to your favorite internet creators. Whether that be a guy who makes wacky mashup albums like Neil Cicierega, an intellectual and thought-provoking podcast like the Stuck Together podcast, or maybe just your favorite YouTuber or streamer like, I don't know, Brutal Moose. He's a great guy, so I hear. You can give 10 creators $1, you could give 5 creators $2, however you want to split this money up. But just start with $10 and give it to a few creators you support. That money is not a whole bunch for you, and it's not a whole bunch for them, but it can grow from there. If enough people support the creators that they really enjoy, those creators can then take their time to make their art. Everyone's got bills to pay, and everyone has jobs they have to do, but if we support creators, it can give them more time, or more reassurance, or more motivation to actually work on their creations. To read more about this idea, go to www.10dollarrevolution.org, or you could follow @Cheratomo on Twitter. I think her Twitter handle will be right down here if I remember it. Maybe right here. Put it right over the Ramones thing. There it is. Follow her on Twitter. Maybe you could ask her some questions if you have any questions, or ask the website some questions if you have any questions. You know, just explore the idea, think about it, and really think to giving towards your favorite creators on the internet. Obviously not me. I'm not advocating that because, no, not me. There are great creators out there. Go find them and give them support because there are so many people out there who have definitely earned it. Spread the word. Great creators deserve great support. But we're gonna move on and close this out. I want to thank you, yes, you, for coming to this video and watching what I've done here today. It means a lot to me, and I will see you hopefully in the next video. Goodbye.
We've been doing this for so long, and yet it's come to this. We feel you've been treating us wrong, yet you sit there and insist.